NBA fans seem to gravitate towards lanky, oversized shot creators that possess a unique combination of ball handling ability and shot creation that you typically don't see from players over a certain height. These jumbo-sized guards are much more exciting to watch due to the sheer physical anomaly that they are. There's no reason that a guy over 6'6" should be able to be crossing guys up and hitting contested mid-range shots in isolation, so it's naturally something that's really easy to appreciate regardless of your level of investment in basketball. That's what's always been the allure with Brandon Ingram. He's basically a 6'8" forward with the skills of a guard. What's not to love about that? As the Pelicans have slowly begun to put together a roster that at the very least could become a capable playoff team in the not too distant future, even though he's only 24, the almost veteran-like leadership of Brandon Ingram has been one of the primary catalysts of this change. While there are a lot of factors that have contributed to this small sliver of hope that Pelicans fans have after years and years of unfortunate mediocrity and superstars that have been lost to big markets, Brandon Ingram's rise to that hairline fringe of consistent all-stardom is undeniably one of the biggest. The obvious point of emphasis is his scoring ability, but that's not what I want to talk about first. There's been a significant amount of progression from Ingram this season in the playmaking department. Prior to their midseason acquisition of 𝙖𝙗𝙤𝙪𝙩, the vast majority of their offense was being ran through Ingram. There can be mixed results when you're facilitating offense through forward-type players that haven't been particularly touted for their ability to distribute the ball, but that's not been the case with Ingram at all this year. I'm not sure if this is a new development for Ingram or if it's something that's always been there and I just haven't seen the signs, but he's displayed an impressive amount of feel for the game as he's progressed into this role as a primary playmaking engine. Now, this isn't to say that he's on par with some of the premier playmakers around the league, but he's expanded his game significantly to incorporate an unexpectedly high level of passing ability. His scoring ability has become so multifaceted that he forces defenses to pay a lot more attention to him than they've had to in years prior. He's been a good scorer for a long time now, but it's noticeable that defenses recognize how potent of a scorer he actually is, and the result is him pulling defenders towards him and opening up passes for his teammates to cash in on easy looks. He can facilitate like a guard in the pick and roll, arguably my favorite development from him this year. Being flanked by 1 and 2 guards creates a unique situation for him as a playmaker. He needs to be guarded with a versatile approach. You can't just throw any player at him. He's too tall to be guarded by guards, and he's just too quick to be guarded by bigs, so you have to throw a really reliable wing defender on him in order to try and slow him down. He can manipulate defenses with the threat of his interior scoring ability. We can see here how he lines up the Nets defense on the pick and roll. He beats Kessler Edwards, forces him to recover, James Harden has to step in to provide help, and Kevin Durant is anticipating the shot at the rim as well, forcing him to prepare to provide help. The second that KD commits, Ingram swings the ball over to Hart, and he's going to be able to knock down the shot. Now this play he's going to execute to perfection. Valanciunas sets the screen and they begin to initiate the pick and roll. The interesting thing about this play though is that Brown becomes forced to step up in case of the roll by Jonas Valanciunas, and Horford has to switch onto Ingram. All the while, Graham is coming up to the perimeter, with Brown being forced to provide supplementary help. Ingram is able to just swing the ball over to Graham and he knocks down the three. This skill as a pick and roll ball handler is such an interesting development, and it's been one of the primary reasons for him taking this leap as a playmaker. That 7'3" wingspan allows him to make some really impressive passes that just otherwise wouldn't be possible. Guys that are just scorers can be all-stars. It's something that we've seen countless times throughout the history of the NBA. What separates the all-stars from all NBA guys is the other areas of the game that they're able to provide an immense amount of value. Being good at one thing is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. There's certainly a place for guys that are only scorers. But Ingram becoming a very, very good playmaker can be what pushes him past the threshold of good to great. Additionally, he's doing this while being responsible with the ball. He's not forcing bad passes or making mistakes. Only 2.7 turnovers per game with this amount of activity is a clear indicator of a guy who knows how to minimize mistakes when creating opportunities for his team. With only a 29.1% usage rate, I highly doubt that this is his ceiling as a primary facilitator. The 6 to 7 assists per game range seems perfectly attainable for him. Couple this with his scoring that he continues to flesh out and add to on a year-to-year basis, and you've got the makings of a really dangerous offensive engine. Now, you can go to Basketball Reference right now and take a look at his stat line and see a 33% three-point efficiency and roll your eyes and write off his scoring ability as a non-factor. After all, you have to be a good three-point shooter as a wing in order to be productive and valuable on the offensive end, right? While it is a bit concerning that his three-point percentage is down from that 39 and 38% from the last 2 years, it really hasn't held him back nearly as much as you might think. He's found other areas to get his points from, particularly from the mid-range. He's quietly been one of the best mid-range shooters in the entire league this year. He's shooting 4% better than league average from the mid-range on 46% this season, and that's on a number of attempts good enough for the second most in the entire league. Perhaps the best word that I can use to describe the difference between his mid-range scoring this year and years prior is comfortable. With these unique scorers, when they're young, there can be a disconnect between what they know they're capable of and knowing when to use it and how to use it to get the right shot. The understanding seems to have caught up to the sheer talent to score the basketball that Brandon Ingram possesses. Mid-range shots are, more often than not, very difficult shots. It's unlikely that a player is going to waltz into a mid-range pull-up uncontested. It's much more likely that they're going to be taking mid-range shots off the dribble and with defenders playing tight defense on them. So the fact that Ingram is knocking down such difficult shots at such a high rate is really a testament to how far he's come as a scorer. That comfort level is supremely evident this year, and he's pairing that high-level ball handling ability to create his shots from inside the arc. That 7'3" wingspan allows him to get shots off over pretty much any defender in the league. There's also the fact that he understands a lot better now where his spots on the floor are. It's a lot easier to convert on your mid-range opportunities when you have an awareness of what shots you are and are not capable of making on a relatively consistent basis. He's also been utilizing screens that are being set for him. While he can create an isolation, he knows how to make his own life easier when his teammates are working for him to get some space and put up a shot. He's actually been the third most efficient shooter off of screens in the league at 49% this year. Once he gets into his rhythm, he's really difficult to stop. He brings a lot of versatility as well, being a 68% shooter at the rim. The way he goes about getting to the basket is just unbelievably smooth. It's not that he's not an athletic guy, because Brandon Ingram is very athletic, but it's not his preferred method of operation to get a clean look at the rim. He's using such crafty ball handling ability and an amount of finesse that we seldom see from players at 6'8". One of my favorite things that he does is how he'll get to the rim using such smooth operation and ball handling ability, and then all of a sudden he'll rise up and throw down a dunk out of nowhere. His off-ball work has impressed me as well. With the addition of CJ as a primary ball handler and offensive facilitator, it's really forced Ingram to make the most of the times where he's having to work without the ball in his hands to get open. On this play, he recognizes that Alvarado has to make a decision sooner rather than later, so he makes a perfect cut into the middle and then fakes a dump off to Valanciunas, which gets Ingram a really clear look at the basket. He's got such a nice touch around the rim and feel for how to place the ball to get it to go down. It's such an aesthetically pleasing part of his game. It's sometimes hard to wrap your head around the fact that Ingram is already in his 6th season because he's only 24 years old. He feels more and more like a veteran as his career progresses, but the crazy thing is that he's not even close to his prime yet. Quite simply, this isn't his ceiling. There's still so many areas of the game where he has plenty of room to grow. He has all the tools in the world to be an elite defender on top of his continuously improving offensive game. That 7'3" wingspan and 6'8" frame makes him the perfect candidate to become an extremely versatile defender. We know that he has the quickness and agility to guard primary ball handlers because we've seen that quickness on the offensive end. With that frame on top of it, he can become switchable against big men in limited situations. Obviously, he's not bulky enough to deal with true centers and post-up threats, but he is more than capable of becoming a shot deterrent on the interior. He's rounding out his game more and more. With every passing season, he seems to add something new to his game. To me, that's the sign of a superstar in the making. Maybe it hasn't happened as quickly as it did for some of the other guys in the league, but that doesn't mean that the potential isn't still there. Some guys just take longer to reach their ceilings. The important thing with Ingram is that this clearly isn't his ceiling. He hasn't stopped getting better. he'll almost certainly become a perennial 25 point per game scorer while notching 6 to 7 assists per game. And if that defense progresses a bit, you're not just looking at a true all-star player, but potentially a top 10 to 15 player in the entire NBA. So what do you expect from Brandon Ingram in the playoffs and next season? Be sure to let me know in the comments. Real quick, only 5% of the people who watch my videos are subscribed. So if you're new to the channel and you enjoyed the video, why not consider hitting that subscribe button? It's totally free, helps me out a ton. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.